ever jumped into a game like Rocket League and just like, how do they even like make that work?
Yeah.
People across the globe playing real-time car soccer.
It's amazing.
It's mind-blowing. That's PUN.
It is.
Photon Unity Networking.
Yeah.
It's like the behind-the-scenes sort of orchestrator making all that smooth gameplay possible.
It is. It's really cool.
And that's what we're diving deep into today.
Awesome.
How it works so you listening can make your own awesome multiplayer games.
Yeah. It's a very powerful system.
I know what you're thinking. Setting up a multiplayer game, even hearing the words server infrastructure can be scary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
I've been there.
It could be intimidating.
But PUN swoops in and saves the day. Imagine instead of spending hours and hours, and let's be honest, probably some tears configuring your own servers.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
PUN just provides it for you.
It does. And
it's like having a tech team on call 24/7, handling all that stuff so you can focus on making your game fun.
Yeah, they've done a really great job of abstracting away a lot of that complexity.
So how does PUN pull this off?
Well,
they have this clever setup with different types of servers, all with their own roles.
Right.
Name server, master server, game server.
It's like a team.
It's a whole team.
Yeah.
And you've got like this really awesome analogy to help us understand this.
I do, yeah. So like imagine you're craving some delicious food.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And you decide, hey, I'm going to go out to a restaurant. So think of PUN's name server as that like trusty guide that helps you find the right city or region for your culinary adventure.
Gotcha.
You know, because you wouldn't want to end up miles away from where you're trying to go.
Right, right.
And that's where the master server steps in.
Okay.
Like the friendly host, you know, at the front desk.
Right.
Checking which restaurants are open, and have tables available, can get you to the perfect spot based on like, you know, your preferences.
They seat you.
Exactly. And then finally, the game server.
Okay.
That's the restaurant itself.
Okay.
That's where the magic happens.
Right.
The delicious food, the vibrant atmosphere.
Experience.
The whole experience, exactly.
That's a really good analogy.
Thanks.
So PUN is taking care of all the logistics, getting me to my seat so I can enjoy my meal.
First date. And all you had to do was just like show up ready to eat.
Perfect. That's what I like to hear.
Right.
No more server setup nightmares.
Exactly.
PUN's got me covered.
I gotcha.
But there's more to this.
There is.
I was looking through these PUN docs that you sent me.
Yeah.
And I saw this term, client states.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of technical.
It does sound a little technical.
But I have a feeling it's really important.
No, it's very important.
So what's the deal with these client states?
Yeah, so client states, they're like these signposts in your game.
Okay.
That tell you where a player is in their like connection journey.
Okay, gotcha.
So think of it like this.
Okay.
You have connecting to name server, then connected to name server, followed by connecting to master server, and then finally connected to master server.
Got it.
Each state kind of dictates what actions a player can take.
Okay.
At that specific moment.
Gotcha.
And this makes sure like everything flows smoothly.
It's like navigating a menu, right?
Exactly.
You wouldn't try to order dessert before you've even like looked at the appetizers.
Exactly. You wouldn't do that.
Each stage has its own purpose.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of it.
Okay.
It lets you design your game flow logically. Right. And it prevents players from doing things they shouldn't be able to do.
Yeah.
At certain points, like, you know, can't blast their laser cannons before they've even joined the game world.
Right, right.
You know, it keeps order in all the chaos.
Got to have that order.
Yes.
Absolutely. It really is like we're getting this backstage pass.
Yeah.
To see how these games really work.
Yeah.
It is.
And how important that structure is.
Yeah.
But there's another term that I saw in the docs that you sent over, RPCs.
Yeah.
Which is remote procedure calls for those who don't speak fluent code like yourself.
Of course, yeah.
It kind of sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It does sound a little technical.
It does.
It does.
So what's the deal with these RPCs?
Yeah. So at their core, they're really all about communication.
Okay.
You know, keeping everyone on the same page.
Got it.
So imagine you're playing a co-op game.
Okay.
And you open a treasure chest.
Okay.
An RPC is basically sending a message to every other player saying, hey, this treasure chest just got opened.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So everyone's game world updates to show that, even though they didn't personally click on it.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Super cool.
So it's not just about visuals either.
No, not at all.
It can trigger all sorts of actions.
Right.
Sound effects, updating scores, maybe even spawning enemies.
Exactly. All those things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's how PUN ensures that everyone's experiencing the same events at roughly the same time.
It's creating that seamless multiplayer magic.
Exactly.
This is blowing my mind.
It's really cool stuff.
It's like everyone's playing the same game, but on different screens. And it's all possible because of these messages flying back and forth.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do.
So with all these updates and actions happening at the same time, wouldn't that create a ton of lag?
That's a great question.
Especially in a game with tons of players.
It's a really important consideration, yeah. And it brings us to one of PUN's, I think, most interesting features.
Okay.
Which is interest groups.
Okay.
You see, if you were sending updates about every single event to every single player, it'd be incredibly inefficient.
That makes sense.
It'd be like trying to water a single plant with a fire hose, right?
Right.
So interest groups let you fine-tune who needs to know what.
Okay.
Based on like their location in the game or their role.
So instead of blasting everyone with information, it's like PUN sets up these targeted channels almost.
Precisely.
Okay.
So think of it this way. In a massive online game, why would a player on one side of the map need to get updates about what's happening on the other side of the map? It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
Right. So with interest groups, you can create these zones or these groups and only send updates to the players in those areas.
So it's like a personalized news feed almost for each player.
It is, and that's a great way to think about it.
Wow.
And it dramatically reduces the amount of network traffic.
Which is super important.
Which is really important for a smooth experience, right?
Yeah.
You don't want your game to be laggy. You want it to be responsive. You want it to be fun.
Exactly.
And that's what this is all about.
So we've talked about the different server types. We've talked about client states, manage of RPCs, and the efficiency of interest groups.
Right, yeah.
I feel like we're really starting to understand how it all works.
Yeah, it's all coming together.
But how does this actually translate into building a game?
Yeah, that's the next step.
Right, like we have the concepts down. Where are the tools?
Exactly. Yeah, how do we put this into practice?
It's like we've got all the blueprints now.
Yeah.
We've seen how all the pieces fit together.
Right.
But how do we actually build something with it?
Yeah, exactly. How do we take these concepts and actually build something that players are going to love?
Exactly. And thankfully, PUN gives us all these tools.
They do.
Like these pre-built components we can just plug into our game.
Yeah, they've done a lot of the hard work for you.
So let's talk about some of these.
Okay, yeah.
These functions that we're going to be using.
Sure.
The ones that are really going to like make our multiplayer dreams a reality.
Absolutely. The bread and butter.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So first up, we got this function called Photon Network. Instantiate.
Yes.
Sounds kind of intimidating.
It sounds very technical.
But it's a game changer.
It is.
So break this one down for us.
Yeah, so imagine you're making like an action RPG game.
Okay.
Right? And you've got these epic spells that are shooting across the screen and, you know...
Fire magic.
Fire and magic, leaving these trails.
Right.
Now, you don't want to create that visual just on the player's screen who cast it.
Right.
You want everyone to see it.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where Photon Network.instantiate comes in. Right. So when a player casts a spell, you use that to create that spell effect.
Okay.
And it tells all the other players, hey, make this appear in your game world too.
So it's not just creating it, it's creating it for everyone.
Exactly.
Got it.
It synchronizes that spawning system.
Like, we're all sharing the same reality even though we're on different computers.
Exactly, that shared experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what about like when something needs to disappear? We can't just have stuff sticking around forever.
Right, we don't want clutter.
Right.
So that's where Photon Network Destroy comes in.
Okay.
Right, so when that spell hits its target, it explodes.
Right.
Or if an enemy gets defeated.
Or they open a treasure chest and it's empty.
Exactly.
We got to get rid of that.
Got to clean it up.
Okay.
So you use Photon Network .destroy, and it makes sure that it disappears for everybody at the same time.
Got it. So no ghost objects hanging around.
No ghost objects, exactly. Clean and efficient.
I like it.
Right.
Okay, so we talked about creating things, destroying things.
Right.
What about those interest groups?
Ah, yes. Interest groups. Very important.
Super important for keeping things running smoothly.
Performance.
Especially with lots of players.
Right. The more players you have,
right,
the more important it is to be efficient.
So PUN has this function called Photon Network. Set interest groups.
Yes, it does.
And this is what lets us actually use them.
It does. So remember how we talked about like
Like dividing up the world.
Dividing the game world into these zones or groups, right?
Right.
This is how you do it.
Okay.
You use that function.
Got it.
And then you can fine-tune which players receive updates about what's happening in those groups.
So if I'm way over here,
right,
I don't need to know what's happening over there.
You don't need to know about that boss fight.
Right. Exactly.
That's happening on the other side of the map. It's only going to send you updates that are relevant to you.
Okay, so less information overload.
Less information overload, more efficiency.
Which means a smoother game.
Exactly, and a happier player.
Right, which is what we want.
That's the goal.
Okay, so we've talked about creating, destroying, managing the updates.
Right.
But what about, like, moving between different parts of the game?
Ah, yes, scene transitions.
Right, because we can't just have one giant level.
Right, you got to break it up.
Right, and we need to make sure everyone transitions smoothly.
Exactly. You don't want people getting lost in the transition.
So PUN provides us with Photon Network load level.
It does, yeah. And this ensures that all players transition to the new scene together.
At the same time.
At the same time, in sync.
No weird glitches or anything?
No glitches, no weirdness. It's like a perfectly choreographed dance.
I love it.
Right.
So if I'm playing a co-op game with my buddy,
yeah,
we beat a level Photon Network. Load level, make sure that we both load the next level together seamlessly.
It does. It's the magic behind the scenes.
This is amazing.
It's pretty cool.
It really is. I feel like we've only scratched the surface of what's possible with PUN.
We really have. It's such a powerful system.
But I think this gives everyone listening a really good starting point.
It does. Yeah, we've covered the basics.
The fundamentals.
The building blocks.
And some of the key functions.
And how they all fit together to create these amazing multiplayer experiences.
So to our listener out there, don't be afraid to jump in. Experiment.
Yeah, get your hands dirty.
Right. Explore the documentation.
Exactly, and see what you can build.
Because PUN takes care of all that complicated stuff for us.
It does, the heavy lifting.
So we can focus on making something awesome.
Exactly.
That's the most important part.
It is. Have fun.